What if everything you've been told about growing fruit in your backyard is just wrong? Not because the advice is malicious, but because the entire gardening industry is built around selling you the same 10 plants, the ones that grow fast in nurseries, fit on store shelves, and photograph well in catalogs. Meanwhile, trees that have been feeding families for thousands of years, trees that outlive your grandchildren, produce hundreds of pounds of food, and practically grow themselves, are sitting in obscurity. Today, I'm going to introduce you to 13 of them. Trees your ancestors relied on. Trees that researchers are writing papers about right now. Trees that your neighborhood has probably never seen planted in a single backyard. Stick around, because number 9 on this list produces food every single year for up to a century and costs less to maintain than a houseplant. And number 13 has the highest antioxidant concentration of any fruit ever studied, grows wild across North America, and almost nobody is planting it. Let's fix that. Every week on this channel, we cover practical, real-world food growing, not the watered-down version you find in big-box garden centers. If that's what you're here for, hit subscribe right now and tap the bell. You won't want to miss what we've got coming. All right, let's get into the list, ranked from extraordinary to genuinely life-changing.
Tree 1. Pawpaw, North America's best-kept secret. We start with a tree that George Washington grew at Mount Vernon, that Thomas Jefferson cultivated at Monticello, that Lewis and Clark relied on during the most grueling stretches of their expedition, not because it was a novelty, but because it was genuinely one of the best food sources in the temperate world. The pawpaw, Asimina triloba, the largest fruit native to North America. One mature tree produces up to 100 pounds of fruit every season. The flesh is tropical, banana, mango, and vanilla custard all in one bite. And it's packed with more amino acids, more magnesium, and more vitamin C than most grocery store fruit you'll find in October. And the maintenance? Almost zero. The leaves contain natural insect-repelling compounds. Deer avoid it. Disease largely ignores it. It thrives in partial shade where apple trees fail. The only catch? Pawpaws ripen fast and need to be eaten, frozen, or processed within days. That's why industrial agriculture abandoned it. For a home grower, that's just a spectacular Tuesday in late September. Think of it as the fruit the grocery industry buried, not because it wasn't worth having, but because they couldn't ship it fast enough. Tree 2. American Persimmon, the tree that produces when everything else stops. When every other fruit tree in your yard has been bare for a month, the American Persimmon is just getting started. Diospyros virginiana ripens after the first hard frost. November, sometimes December. That's not a limitation. That's a food security strategy most gardeners have never even considered. The flavor? Deep orange flesh with the richness of brown sugar and spiced pumpkin. Indigenous peoples dried persimmons into winter cakes that lasted for months. Early settlers counted on them when nothing else was left in the pantry. And the tree itself is almost unkillable. Drought tolerance, poor soil tolerance, cold snaps that would kill an apple tree outright. A mature persimmon can live and produce for over 75 years with almost no intervention, all while improving the soil around it through nitrogen fixation. High in vitamin A, vitamin C, manganese, and some of the most studied antioxidant compounds in any temperate fruit. Think of it as the tree that refuses to quit when everything else already has.
Tree 3. Mulberry, the fastest fruit tree you'll ever plant. Most fruit trees make you wait 3, 5, sometimes 7 years before you see a real harvest. The mulberry gives you fruit in year 2. On a good planting, sometimes year 2. For a tree, that's almost unheard of. Morus species, native red mulberry, Plus, the widely grown white and black varieties are among the most productive trees in the temperate world. A single mature tree can produce between 100 and 500 pounds of fruit per season. That's not a typo. The berries carry serious nutrition: vitamin C, iron, calcium, and resveratrol, the same compound that made red wine famous in cardiovascular research. The tree itself grows fast, tolerates poor soil and drought, and asks almost nothing from you after year 1. The reason it's overlooked? It produces so much, so fast, that the fruit overwhelms people who want a clean yard. For someone growing food, that's exactly the point. Think of it as the fruit tree that doesn't make you wait, and then rewards you more than you expected. Tree 4, Jujube, the date of the north. The jujube has been cultivated in China for over 4,000 years, and once you see the performance data, you'll understand why. Ziziphus jujuba tolerates temperatures down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, thrives in drought, grows in alkaline or salty soil that would destroy most fruit trees, requires no spraying, no significant pruning, and practically no attention once established. And it produces 40 to 100 pounds of sweet, date-like fruit every season, for decades. Fresh jujubes are crisp and apple-like when green, then transition to a rich, chewy sweetness as they ripen. Dried, they become one of the most shelf-stable natural foods you can produce at home, lasting months without refrigeration. The nutrition is extraordinary. Fresh jujubes contain up to 20 times more vitamin C per gram than citrus. Traditional Chinese medicine has used jujube for centuries for immune support, sleep quality, and stress resilience. And
Tree 5, Serviceberry, the fruit that arrives before you're ready. While most of your garden is still just waking up, the serviceberry is already done. Amelanchier blooms in early April, often through frost, and produces ripe fruit in June, weeks before strawberries, months before any tree fruit from your orchard. The berries are blueberry-sized, deep purple, and taste like a blueberry crossed with a hint of almond. Bears and birds absolutely know about them. If you're not watching, you'll miss your window. But what makes serviceberry genuinely special for a food grower is the timing. It fills the hungry gap, the stretch between winter stores and summer abundance, with fresh, nutrient-dense fruit when nothing else is ready. Indigenous peoples across North America used it as a key spring food source and mixed it with dried meat and fat to make pemmican, one of the most calorie-complete survival foods ever developed. Nutritionally, it rivals blueberries, high in anthocyanins, vitamin C, iron, and manganese. And the tree is fully native, meaning it's perfectly adapted to local soils, local insects, and local weather. Think of it as the tree that rewards you before you expected anything. Tree 6, Fig, the ancient tree that thrives on neglect. The fig appears more times in the Bible than almost any other plant. It was traded like currency in the ancient Mediterranean. And for good reason. A mature fig tree is one of the most reliable food producers a person can own. Modern gardeners assume figs only grow in warm climates. That thinking is at least a decade out of date. Cold-hardy varieties, Chicago Hardy, Brown Turkey, Celeste, now thrive in zones 5 and 6 with minimal winter protection. People in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and the Great Lakes region are harvesting figs every year. What makes the fig extraordinary is that some varieties produce 2 crops per year, an early Braba crop in summer on last year's wood, and a main crop in late summer and fall. 2 harvests, 1 tree, 1 season. The nutrition is remarkable. Figs are among the highest plant sources of calcium of any fruit and provide significant dietary fiber, potassium, and B vitamin. Tree 7, Cornelian cherry, the 100-year tree that blooms in February. The Cornelian cherry, Cornus mas, is not actually a cherry. It's a member of the dogwood family. And it does something that earns it a place in every serious food garden. It blooms in February, through snow, before anything else in your yard is even thinking about waking up. And those early blooms make it one of the most important early food sources for native bees when almost nothing else is available. The fruit itself, small, red, olive-shaped, intensely tart, ripens in late August and September. The flavor lands somewhere between a sour cherry, a cranberry, and a plum. Not a snacking fruit straight off the tree, but extraordinary in preserves, syrups, and the Georgian sour fruit leather called tlaki that has been a medicinal food across Eastern Europe for centuries. The nutritional case is serious. Vitamin C content comparable to rose hips, anthocyanins that rival blueberries, and documented anti-inflammatory polyphenols that validate generations of traditional use. The tree itself grows 15 to 25 feet, lives over 100 years, tolerates poor soil and urban conditions, and has virtually no pest or disease pressure. You plant it once and it feeds your grandchildren. Think of it as the tree that shows up when winter isn't quite finished.
Tree 8. Medlar, the medieval fruit worth rediscovering. Here is one that will genuinely catch you off guard. The medlar, Mespilus germanica, was one of the most commonly grown fruit trees in medieval Europe. Shakespeare mentioned it. Chaucer wrote about it. Every monastery garden from England to Persia grew one. Then industrial agriculture arrived, and the medlar vanished from modern life. For the same reason the pawpaw did. It doesn't ship. The medlar is harvested after frost, and then undergoes a process called bletting. The fruit softens and ferments slightly until the flesh transforms from hard and astringent to deep brown, soft, and intensely sweet, with flavors of apple, cinnamon, and brown butter caramel. That's not rot, that's transformation. A mature medlar produces 40 to 60 pounds of fruit per season, lives over 50 years, handles cold winters, tolerates partial shade, and requires essentially no maintenance. The tree itself is ornamental year-round, large white spring blossoms, striking autumn leaves, so it earns its place in a yard even before the fruit arrives. Think of it as the fruit that medieval cooks knew and modern cooks haven't discovered yet. Tree 9. Chestnut, the tree that fed civilisations. Before the American chestnut blight of the early 1900s wiped out nearly 4 billion trees, the chestnut was the single most important food tree in the eastern United States. Entire communities built their food security around the annual chestnut harvest. Castanea species, Chinese and European varieties now widely available, begin producing at 3 to 5 years. By year 10, a single tree yields 25 to 50 pounds. By year 20, production climbs toward 100 pounds, and then continues for a century. One planting, 100 years of food. The nutrition is unique among nuts. Chestnuts are low in fat and high in complex carbohydrates, functioning more like a grain than a nut. They contain vitamin C, almost unheard of in other nuts, along with B vitamins and potassium. In Italy, France, Portugal, and across Asia, chestnut flower has fed populations for generations. Think of it as the one tree where every hour you invest multiplies across every year of the next century.
Tree 10. Elderberry, the immune support that grows in your yard. Most people think of elderberry as a bush. Given full sun and a few years, Sambucus grows into a 10 to 20-foot multi-stem tree, producing dark purple berry clusters in late summer that are some of the most studied immune support foods in clinical research. Multiple randomized controlled trials have confirmed elderberry extract significantly reduces the duration and severity of cold and flu symptoms. This is not folk medicine, it's peer-reviewed human trial data. A mature planting produces 25 pounds or more of berries annually. A batch of homemade elderberry syrup that would cost $30 at a health food store costs pennies per ounce when you start from your own tree. One important note, always cook elderberries before eating or processing. Raw berries in large quantities can cause nausea. Cooked and processed, they are completely safe and genuinely effective. Think of it as immune support that grows in your yard, costs nothing, and works better than most pharmacy alternatives. Tree 11. Quince, the culinary powerhouse most gardeners ignore.
The quince preceded the apple as the primary orchard fruit of ancient Greece and Rome. It was the golden apple of mythology, and it produces something no other backyard fruit tree can replicate. Cydonia oblonga is completely inedible raw, but cook a quince and something extraordinary happens. The flesh transforms from cream to deep crimson, releasing a floral fragrance unlike anything else in the fruit world. The flavor has been described as what a rose would taste like if it were a fruit. A mature quince tree produces 50 to 100 pounds of fruit with zero pest pressure. Virtually nothing bothers it. It tolerates clay soils and drought that would stress apples or pears. And because quince is extraordinarily high in natural pectin, it sets into a firm jam or paste without any additives. Quince paste paired with aged cheese spread on bread is still a staple across Portugal, Spain, and the Middle East. Think of it as the fruit tree that rewards cooks rather than snackers and pays back in the most extraordinary preserves your kitchen has ever produced.
Tree 12. Loquat, the tree that rewrites your harvest calendar. The loquat does something no other common fruit tree does. It flowers in autumn and winter and ripens fruit in April or May, before almost anything else in your garden has even finished blooming. Fresh, tree-ripened fruit in April. Think about what that means. Your yard producing while the grocery store is still running on cold storage imports. Areobatria japonica fruit is sweet tart, apricot-like, high in beta-carotene, vitamin C, and pectin. In traditional Japanese and Chinese medicine, loquat leaf tea has been used for centuries for respiratory support, and modern research has confirmed real anti-inflammatory compounds that explain why loquat cough preparations are pharmacy staples across East Asia. In Zone 8 and warmer, loquat is easy and productive. In Zone 7, plant against a south-facing wall and it will reward you. The tree is evergreen and ornamental year-round, earning its place even when it's not fruiting. Think of it as the tree that rewrites your growing calendar and hands you April abundance while everyone else is still waiting for summer. Tree 13, Aronia, the most nutritionally dense fruit you've never tasted. And here we are, number 13, the one I told you about at the start. Aronia melanocarpa, black chokeberry, holds the record for the highest measured antioxidant capacity of any fruit in multiple independent published analyses. Not near the top, 3 to 4 times the antioxidant activity of blueberries. Clinical research from European universities has confirmed cardiovascular benefits, reduced blood pressure, improved lipid profiles, anti-inflammatory effects, and promising results for blood sugar regulation. In Poland, the Czech Republic, and across Scandinavia, Aronia is a major commercial crop. Supplement companies import it by the ton. In the United States, almost nobody grows it, despite it being fully native to eastern North America. The growing requirements are almost embarrassingly easy. 13 trees, thousands of years of growing wisdom that we nearly left behind. Every one of these trees can fit in a residential yard. Several of them thrive on neglect. Most of them outlive the people who plant them. And all of them produce food that the grocery store simply cannot replicate. Harvested at peak ripeness from your own ground and eaten the same day. Drop a comment below and tell me, which tree surprised you the most? Are you Team Pawpaw and Persimmon? Team Chestnut and Elderberry? Or Team Aronia and Serviceberry? I read every comment and I want to know what you're planting. If you got value from this today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are trying to grow smarter. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.